Knowledge makes you stupid. It's one of my favorite quotes of all time, and I am super guilty of it. Often I forget that I've been a professional chef for 20 years, and what comes naturally to me sometimes doesn't come natural to every single home cook. So we Googled the top 10 things people struggle to cook with, and I'm gonna run you through them. Nothing crazy, nothing fancy, just good, honest home cooking. First up, the one everyone struggles with for some reason, I have no idea why, rice. First things first, retrieve your rice cooker. If you don't have one, go buy one. They're like $15. And if you can't afford that, don't stress, because I'm gonna show you a way how to do it with a pot later on. Add your rice. And general rule of thumb, you want about 1/4 cup to 1/2 cup of raw rice per person, depending on how big of an eater they are. Next, to the sink. Cold water, work it around, drain it off. And you want to do that 3 times in your rice cooker. And you want to add enough water so it comes up to the first knuckle. Make sure it's flat, turn it on, push the button, rice done. 25 minutes later, woo, give it a fluff, and there you go. Beautifully cooked Thai jasmine rice. And the best thing about these rice cookers is that they keep it hot for you. So put it on whenever, because it will just keep it hot as long as you need. Next up, let's show you how to make some quinoa, otherwise known as quinoa. Oh, I guess I'm the only one that thought that was funny. Pretty simple, 2-to-1 ratio. Pot with a lid. 1 of those, 2 of these, just water. You can actually use chicken stock as well if you want, or any stock you want at all. Add a bit more flavor, pinch of salt, bigger than that. Give it a stir, and on the heat. Bring it to a simmer, turn the temperature right down, and really slowly cook it for about 15 minutes. Turn the heat off, leave the lid on for 5 minutes, bosh. 20 minutes later, give it a nice little fluff. And there you go, that's what cooked quinoa should look like. Nice, light, fluffy, lots of individual grains. And as far as serving sizes are concerned, you want about 1/4 cup of dried quinoa per person. Asparagus, one of my most hated veggies growing up, and now it's probably one of my top 3. I love it. There's a couple of ways to cook this. In fact, there's multiple ways to cook this. I'm gonna show you this way now, which we're gonna grill it. You can also blanch it like we're gonna do with the broccolini later. Take your asparagus and remove the rubber bands. Save that for, I don't know, something. You're gonna trim the bottoms. There's all this rumor that you go like this and where it snaps is the best place. I kind of think it's bollocks. Use your best judgment. I usually do about 2.5 centimeters, which is about 1 inch. Onto a little tray. They come in all kinds of sizes. I like the really nice little thin ones. My other rule for asparagus is I only eat it when it's in season of the country that I'm in. I am sick of seeing imported asparagus. If it's not in season, just don't eat it. Choose something else. Olive oil. Season with salt. Onto the grill. Hopefully it doesn't get stuck like mine just did. Nice hot grill, won't take long, maybe 3 minutes. Once you see the asparagus get a bit greener, more vibrant, it's probably ready to flip. There you go, it's good to go like that, but bonus points, I think it really elevates it. A little bit of lemon zest. Grilled asparagus, absolutely delicious. Yum. Pork belly. Now, there's lots of ways to skin this cat. This is the most simple method, requires no time, no preparation, and you should get a pretty good result. Flip it over, a little bit of oil, rub it in. The oil's more of a binder than anything else. Some salt, and then season it with whatever you want. Fennel seeds work well. Chinese 5-spice works well. I'm gonna use a bit of fennel pollen, some fancy like that, and some pepper. Now we're gonna flip it back over. You see how it's got a big divot in the middle? We don't want that. Grab yourself some foil and use that to prop it up. It's probably a bit too much. So that the skin is nice and level. Now, there's lots of methods. You can score it, you can poke holes in it. Like I said, this is the most simple method and we're not gonna do any of that, and I guarantee this skin will still crack. Make sure it's nice and dry, a little bit more oil on the top, rub it around, season it with salt. Oven's on 180, we're gonna leave it in there for an hour and then we'll come back. 1 hour later, ooh, it's looking good. You can see here we've got some good roasting color, but now we need to get that top crackled. So, turn your oven to grill on high, close the door. Don't go far, because this will happen real quick. All right, it's been on grill for 5 minutes. Let's have a look. We are looking good. A little bit longer, turn it around, let it do its thing. But you really need to watch it at this point. It'll go from nice crackling to burnt and bitter in a matter of a second. That was very dramatic. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. I'm gonna let it rest and then we'll carve and have a taste. All right, let's see how I did. Remember, we didn't do this overnight, nothing crazy like that. Juicy, and a respectable amount of crackle. Could you get that crackle a little bit better with some more technique and time? Absolutely, but this is perfectly acceptable. Next up, corn Silverside. Corned beef, whatever you want to call it. It's delicious, it's super affordable, it's delicious hot with potatoes. It also makes fantastic sandwiches. Anyway, let's cook it. Pot, beef, cover with water. Now this first time, we're not actually cooking it, we're just getting rid of some of the impurities. We're gonna bring it to a simmer, we're gonna take it out, and we're gonna refresh it and add some aromats. Let's get the murapā ready. Carrot, slice. Celery. Onion. Garlic. Bay leaves, 2. And everyone that's gonna get in the comments and be like, oh, I never even tasted bay leaf, let's don't put it in. Last but not least, peppercorns. I have white ones here, black ones also work well. Let's say 10. Don't really need any salt. That thing's brined. It'll be salty enough as it is. Woo. 10 minutes later, pull the beef out, and you see all that scum? That's what we're trying to get rid of. So time to clean the pot, and we'll get the beef back in there. Clean pot, back on the stove. Beef back in, onions, carrots, celery, garlic, bay leaves, and peppercorns. Cover with fresh water, turn the heat on and bring to a simmer. Once it's simmering, turn it right down low, put a lid on it. You're gonna cook it for 30 minutes every 500 grams of beef you've got. Daz, what's 500 grams of beef in that other silly thing that they use? That's 1.1 pound for all my American friends. 1 hour later, looking good. Tell you what, it smells pretty good. Gonna use a probe, just more to kind of feel the resistance, and that feels pretty good at this point. Trick is with this, you don't want to overcook it. So what I'm going to do is turn the heat off completely. We're going to let it rest in the liquid for a good 25 minutes, and that'll still keep its temperature. All right, this has been resting for like 25 minutes now. You can see it's still nice and hot. Pull it out, and we'll slice some up. So you're going to carve against the grain. You can see here the grains are going like this, so we're going to carve this way. Nice and thin. This reminds me of Braeckmans salt beef bagels. Delicious. Yum. Nothing wrong with that at all. Beetroot. This one is pretty easy. I like to do it this way because I like to peel them after instead of before. You can also just cook them like you would potatoes, starting them in cold water. But then you're gonna have to peel them before and that just gets messy. Take your beetroot, aluminum foil, 1 each. Beetroot in, drizzle with oil, season with salt. Wrap them nice and tight and onto a tray, into the oven. 180 degree oven, which is about 350 Fahrenheit, roughly an hour. It's gonna be between 55 minutes and an hour and 20, depending on size of the beetroot. These are relatively big, I'll check them in an hour. So these actually took longer than expected. They took about an hour and a half, but you can see when I put a skewer in there, they come out. They are fully cooked. Now, these are gonna be very hot, so we're not gonna be able to peel them just yet, but we can take them out of the foil. Take them out of the foil, let them rest for half an hour, and then we'll come back and we'll peel them. All right, to peel these, it's highly recommended you put some gloves on. You're gonna get very pink fingers, but it's really simple. You simply push the skin away. Now, you can slice these however you want. If you want to slice them into big rings for burgers, or even just little wedges like this. Make a delicious salad. Just gonna dress it with a little bit of sherry vinegar, some salt. Delicious. Rice in a pot. If you don't have a rice cooker, I don't know why, maybe you're an Airbnb, you just don't have one. You need a pot with a lid. Put your rice in, and same as before, you gotta wash it. The same measurement as before, to your first knuckle. Whoop. Lid on, temperature to medium high. We're gonna bring it up to a simmer, then we're gonna turn it right down and let it go for about 20 minutes till it's fully cooked with a lid on the whole time. All right, this is simmering now. Turn it right down as low as your element will go. Place the lid on it and we'll check it in 15 minutes, but it's probably gonna take closer to 20, 22 minutes to finish cooking. 20 minutes later, woo, look at that. Give it a fluff, and if I've done it right, it shouldn't have even stuck to the bottom. All this chat about getting a rice cooker and you don't even need one. Broccolini, another one of my absolute favorite veggies, and it's super simple. Like I was saying with the asparagus, you can also grill this, but I would recommend that you blanch it briefly first, otherwise it might take a bit long because they're bottoms can be a little bit woody. You can also use this technique with the asparagus if you don't have a grill. Open your broccolini, trim the bottoms off. You don't need to trim much, a centimeter. What's that, ½ an inch? And then you're gonna go through them, match up sizes. The reason we do this is because we want it to all cook the same. So these, you don't need to touch. These are too fat. Simply run a knife down the center so that they're a similar size to those. To the pot. Lots of boiling water, season with salt, in it goes. You're gonna cook this about 3 to 4 minutes. Probably in more water than I've got, to be honest. All right, just over 3 minutes later, and these are pretty much good to go. You can see that they've still got some bend, but they do snap. I like to drain them onto a rack. That way we can season them again. Now these are good to eat like this, but if you want to level it up a bit, a little bit of good quality olive oil, just like the asparagus, nice bit of lemon zest, and even a squeeze of the juice. Time to plate. Now if you were going to grill this, like I was talking about at the start, you'd only cook them in the water for a minute at max. When you pull them out of the water, if you're going to grill them straight away, you can put them straight in the grill. If you're not going to grill them straight away, you need to cool them right down in ice cold water, dry them off, and then you can grill them to order when you're ready. But there you go, broccolini. Couldn't be easier, delicious, healthy, what's not to love? Roast pork. Now, I have done a full video on roast pork with sides. The link is up here, maybe here, I don't know. Check it out if you want to. This is a very quick way to get this piece of meat on the dinner table. This is a roast pork loin. Loin, skin, yum. Oven tray, bigger than the one that I've got on here. Skin is nice and dry. Again, you can score this if you want. If you're in a hurry, don't stress, just add a bit of oil, rub it all over. You can also season it more if you want. Today, we're going really simple, just lots of salt. So we're gonna do this in a different temperature and time to how we were doing the pork belly before. We're gonna start this really hot, crisp up the skin, then we're gonna turn the temperature right down and we'll continue to cook it until it's cooked through. To the oven. In she goes. That oven is on 240 degrees Celsius, which is 464 degrees Fahrenheit. We're gonna leave it in there for half an hour, then we'll check it and turn it down to 160 degrees Celsius, which is, I have no idea in Fahrenheit. All right, that took longer than expected. That was about 45 minutes at 240. We're gonna drop this down to 160, which is 350 Fahrenheit, 320 Fahrenheit. I'm gonna cook this to eternal temperature of 70 degrees Celsius, which is about 160 degrees Fahrenheit. These conversions, I'll never get used to them. I reckon that's gonna take at least another hour, but we'll probe it after 40 minutes and see how it's going. All right. So that has been almost 2 hours to get that. It's just cracked 70 degrees Celsius, but I'm super happy with it. How good does that sound? The obligatory knife scrape. Anyway, like all big pieces of meat, you gotta rest it. So we're gonna rest this for like 20 minutes. I'll even probably let this one go for about half an hour. Then we'll carve it up and see how it is in the middle. All right, turned out pretty well this. We've rested it for a while. Let's cut it open. Ooh, look at that. Still nice and juicy. Delicious. I actually don't even care about the meat, I just want that. Yum. Excuse me while I stuff my face with pork. Pan-fried salmon with crispy skin. So tasty. Fry pan on a medium-high heat. Now you can use a stainless steel fry pan like I am, a cast iron, a non-stick if you want to, whatever you want. The trick is once the salmon hits, you don't move it until it's got a nice crust. It's got some nice salmon with skin on here. I'm gonna season it generously. I like to use flaky sea salt when I'm doing fish. Just think it adds a nice little extra textural component. I also use olive oil when I'm cooking salmon. Decent amount in the pan. And make sure you let it heat up before you put the fish in there, or it will stick. And I'll laugh. I won't laugh. And you can tell the oil's hot enough when it just starts to shimmer and almost thins out a little bit. You should see little light whispers of smoke, but you don't want it full raging smoke. Take your fillet of salmon and very carefully lay it away from you. Once the salmon's in, turn the temperature down to like a medium. You don't want this to kind of get too crazy. Use a fish slice or a protein press just to give the salmon a nice light press. Make sure that skin is completely in contact with the bottom of that pan. Also, ideally, you don't want this to happen. You don't want the salmon to kind of be up half the edge, but if it does happen, don't try and move it, just leave it there. So right now, this pan is on very low. If you feel like the pan is getting too hot, the easiest way to take heat out of it is just lift it off the element. You really got to control the temperature here. You don't want that oil like raging hot. You don't want heaps of smoke coming off this. Nice, controlled cooking. So what you're looking for is, you can see here where I'm pointing that the color of the skin is starting to change and the flesh is starting to cook. Once this gets about 1/2 centimeter to almost 1 centimeter up, it should be time just to flip it. All right, I'm feeling confident that we're at a good spot here. What we need to do is to flip it. We're gonna lift the edge up just carefully. We're gonna make sure that the skin is not stuck. And then we're gonna seal the outside edges before we flip it onto its belly part here. What that does is just seal this at the sides before we actually have its final cook on the belly part. So just edging it up, carefully seal the ends onto the other side, and then onto the belly. All right, that's been cooking for about 3 minutes on its belly. Time to pull it out. Worth noting, these will be cooked about medium in the internal, won't be fully cooked through. If you do want it fully cooked through, maybe take it for about 5 minutes and turn the temperature down a bit. There you go, crispy skin salmon. Only takes about 10 minutes to pan fry. And it's absolutely delicious, full of omega-3s and all that good stuff. So there you go, the 10 most common things searched, how to cook. I hope you took something from this. Like this video if you took anything from it. Subscribe if you're not, because most of you aren't for some reason. And we'll see you next week for another recipe. Peace.